Imagine a continent so vast that it holds over 1,500 languages, 54 countries, and more than a billion hearts beating to the rhythm of resilience. A place where ancient kingdoms once thrived, where music, spirit, and soil are inseparable, and a people who, despite centuries of exploitation, stand tall to say, "We are not what the world once said we were, we are what we choose to become." Welcome to Africa Day, a day not just of celebration but of remembrance, resistance, and reimagination. What is Africa Day? Africa Day, observed every year on May 25th, commemorates the founding of the Organization of African Unity, the O.A.U., in 1963. This historic organization was formed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, when 30 African nations came together to dream big of a united, independent, and dignified Africa. At the time, Africa was a continent emerging from the shadows of colonization. European powers had carved up territories, drawn arbitrary borders, and imposed languages, systems, and ideologies. But by the 1960s, the winds of change were blowing. Countries were gaining independence one after the other, and Africa needed something more than freedom. It needed unity. And that's exactly what the O.A.U. stood for. The goals of the O.A.U., the Organization of African Unity, wasn't just symbolic, it had serious objectives to promote political and economic integration of the African continent, to support liberation movements in countries still under colonial rule or apartheid, to uphold the sovereignty and territorial integrity of member states, to defend African interests on the global stage. In many ways, the O.A.U. was Africa's loud and clear message to the world. We are not your colonies. We are sovereign nations with a shared future. Let's rewind a little further. 1958. In Accra, Ghana, leaders from independent African countries meet at the first Conference of Independent African States. This sparks the idea of celebrating African Freedom Day, observed on April 15, in countries like Ethiopia, Ghana, and South Africa. 1963, the O.A.U. is founded. African Freedom Day is renamed Africa Day and moved to May 25th to commemorate this unifying moment. 1991, the O.A.U. sets up the African Economic Community, laying the groundwork for trade and development collaboration. 2002, the O.A.U. is succeeded by the African Union AU, a stronger and more structured body for political and economic unity. 1994, South Africa joins the O.A.U. as its 53rd member just 2 days before Africa Day, a symbolic triumph against apartheid. Africa's diversity is both its challenge and its strength. Despite being a cradle of ancient civilization, Africa was subjected to intense colonization, with only Ethiopia and Liberia escaping full colonial rule. Ethiopia, briefly occupied by Italy before World War II but never colonized. Liberia, founded in 1847 by freed African American slaves, adopted English early on. Today, the colonial footprint still lingers in official languages. Apart from Ethiopia, most African nations use English, French, Portuguese, or Arabic for government and education. But make no mistake, Africa is not defined by the languages of its colonizers. It's defined by the spirit of Ubuntu, the idea that I am because we are. Africa Day is not just a historical nod, it's a call to action, and here's why. It matters today more than ever. 1. To celebrate identity, Africa Day honors the rich cultural, linguistic, and ethnic mosaic of the continent, from the Berbers of North Africa to the Zulus of the South, from the Swahili coast to the deserts of the Sahara. Second, to reflect on progress. Many African nations have made massive strides in education, technology, and governance, but challenges like poverty, conflict, and climate change still remain. Third, to empower the youth. Africa has the youngest population in the world. Africa Day is a chance to hand them the microphone and say, define the Africa you want. Rewrite the narrative. You are not the future, you are the now. Fourth, to unite against common challenges, whether it's fighting pandemics, addressing debt, or asserting political sovereignty. Unity is Africa's secret weapon. To those outside the continent, Africa is not a monolith. It's not just war torn headlines or wildlife safaris. It's Lagos traffic jams and Nairobi tech startups. It's Senegalese jazz, Egyptian literature, South African science, and Ghanaian art. So the next time someone refers to Africa as underdeveloped, remind them they are not behind. They're just not playing their game. They've got their own strategy, their own rhythm. Africa Day is marked by cultural festivals, panel discussions on development, school and college programs, media specials, diaspora celebrations in the US, Europe, and the Caribbean, in Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and beyond. It's a chance to fly the flag high and sing with pride. Africa Day is not just about remembering what was, it's about dreaming what could be. It's a reminder that no matter the scars of the past, the continent rises with rhythm, resilience, and raw, unapologetic power. So, today, whether you're in Africa or across oceans, take a moment to say, Happy Africa Day. May the drums of freedom, unity, and progress keep beating louder than ever.